Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Super Deluxe Gamescast. It is Thursday, April the 6th, and exactly 16 days... no, I'm sorry, not even that. 13 days. 13 days until the release of the Pixel Remasters on the Nintendo Switch family of systems and the PlayStation 4 and 5. And, sorry, I had to get that out of the way because you guys know I've been waiting for this shit for 2 fucking years now. So finally, my watch has ended. Okay, there we go.
Finally, we never have to talk about that on this podcast.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, like it's fine. Like like Ibs is catching a break from it all now. Finally, he doesn't have to worry about me constantly being like, "Where are the Pixel Remasters, Ibs? Where are the Pixel Remasters?" They're finally coming out, and I'm going to talk more about those later in the show. We're going to start off. Now, normally we start off with talking about what we've been playing. But we actually have a very cool guest tonight. And Finn, since you know Jasmine, I am going to let you introduce her to the audience. So please, if you could go ahead and take it away.
So, hello everybody. Our guest today is Jasmine from VR with Jasmine. She's a very prolific and talented VR enthusiast slash influencer slash content creator. And we figured with the imminent launch of PSVR 2 and all of the happenings in the VR sphere, now would be a perfect time to have them on as a guest.
Wait,
so I'm
hold on. Imminent launch? I thought it's already out.
Well, it's the imminent launch. Like that is the newest thing.
Oh.
What?
The recent launch. The recent launch.
Recent launch. There we go.
Aura of the launch.
I actually meant to say the imminent, like, recent news of the PSVR 2, but
honestly, John could have let that one go.
He could have.
I could have, but you know I'm not going to. You know I'm not going to.
But anyway, yeah. So Jasmine is here, and I would love to kick it over with the initial question of, Jasmine, tell us about yourself and how you got started as VR with Jasmine.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having me here today. I have a very interesting background, but I guess I'll say I became VR with Jasmine during the pandemic, really bored, stuck at home, and I didn't know what else to do with myself. So I started streaming on Twitch. I was streaming Beat Saber, mostly because I was like, oh, I can't even go outside to get a workout. I can't do anything. Grew like a following there on Twitch. And people ask me a lot of questions like, what the heck are you doing? How did you do that? What's on your face? What's going on? Because VR was not very popular yet at the time, and it's definitely getting more popular now. And so after some time, I was like, oh man, I can't believe I have to answer this question over and over and over again. And so I started making YouTube videos. And anytime people would ask me questions, like, that on my YouTube video, exclamation point, whatever. Yeah, and so that's pretty much like the story of how I got into like doing content creation. And since then I've really like left my like full-time career, which was in engineering and robotics, and now went full-time into content creation. Wow. Oh, and also recently, about 6 months ago, I co-founded like a PR firm that's VR focused. So we work with a lot of VR games and help them with launching their game.
So
that's amazing.
That's awesome.
So Jasmine, what you could say that like in 2020 was like the rise of VR with Jasmine, and now we're like in the shadow of VR with Jasmine era, or are we beyond even that now?
I don't even know what that means. What do you mean?
Are you trying to make a Tomb Raider reference?
Yes, I am. Finally,
okay.
someone picked up on it.
That's awesome. What's your the PR firm?
Our PR firm's called Impact Reality, and it's mostly like there's just so many good VR games there. And after being a creator for a long time, not a long time, I guess 3 years, after being a creator for about 3 years, and just like all these people in my comments saying, there's no good games, I don't know what to play. And I'm like, man, there's so many good games. They just don't know how to get them in front of you. So started partnering with a lot of these like VR games devs studios and getting them in front of the right people.
3 years post-pandemic era feels like 30. So you have been a streamer for a long time.
It feels like ages. I'm like, what is time? Time does not exist.
Time is a circle.
Also,
do you even remember how to engineer anymore?
Right.
Oh man, I don't know. That's a tough question. I went from engineering to like PR and marketing. So,
Jasmine, I'm curious. Like, what do you have like a gaming background prior to your foray into VR? Okay. So like what was kind of your thing before you got into VR? Like what kind of games do you like to play?
Yeah, I played Genshin for a long time. But like early days, I was just playing like I don't know, Frogger and then like the Rugrats game.
The
And
Oh, that
Rugrats
game
game.
was so hard.
That's what's up.
and like Pajama Sam and like the cereal box games. What else I do? Oh, Maple Story. I spent like a long time, forever playing.
Wow, that brings
Love
me
it.
back.
I have actually never
Mhm.
heard of Maple Story. Jeff, you should be
Really?
intimately familiar with Maple Story, being
I-
Canadian. I
I
would
feel
assume.
like John might have missed that window by like a year. Like
Maybe.
that's definitely right in my wheel.
But I feel like it was big enough to where he would have heard
Yeah.
about it.
Oh man, that was my whole
It-
life. Yeah, that was
It
good
wasn't a
times.
JRPG, so John hasn't heard of it.
It wasn't JRPG or horror, so like I don't know
It
anything
was
about it.
in Korea that was really popular, so close
Yeah.
but not quite.
Interesting.
Yeah, and
Um,
then yeah.
So I've got a the whole goal of your firm is to what, like kind of like spread awareness of VR, like kind of like proliferate the technology throughout the industry.
No, it's specifically to help VR games and products do their launch. So
cool,
if
cool,
you're
cool.
like especially there's a lot of indie game devs in the VR space,
There are.
unsurprisingly, and they're really good at making games, but they're like, oh, I don't know how to get this in front of anybody.
It's
So
it's
luckily, yeah.
it's not easy to do, especially if you're not a known property and you're already coming as a VR only game. It's hard to get that initial
Yeah.
traction. So that is a necessary service to provide people because yeah, you're not wrong. There are lots of games on VR marketplaces, but very few people would be able to name or know about ahead of time. So
And you know,
that's
we
awesome.
thank you. We do a little something, I guess, extra on top of just PR. So it's me and two other co-founders, and they're also a bit like stir crazy about VR and also obsessed, and creators in their own ways. And the three of us have just played so much freaking VR, and so we kind of have an idea of like when we play a game, we're like, oh, this is gonna do well, or oh, that's not gonna go
No.
over very well. Yeah, and so we kind of, I mean the way I put it is we kind of like tear games apart and like it lovingly, you know, like tough love. Like I don't want them to launch and have a bunch of people like review bomb them. So we definitely give them a lot of feedback. Like if you just fix like these little things, man, this could be so much better. So yeah, that's really fun.
That's a good like just skill set to have because of your VR background because there are other PR companies that have handled VR games off and on, but you can always tell that they try and market it like a traditional indie game and you really can't do that with a VR experience.
Thank you.
So like what's
That's
interesting
perfect.
what's interesting about VR to me is like like so I own an Oculus 2. I don't have a PS.
Actually, it's called a MetaQuest.
Man, whatever. You know,
The rebrand, man,
fine,
happened.
fine.
Like
But
over 6 months ago. I should have known by now.
I don't
Fake
have.
gamer John over here.
I know.
Yes.
I've been exposed
Doesn't
to
know
the
Sink into
fraud.
his
sorry,
ass.
doesn't know the rename. Oh my gosh.
I guess I'll
Fake
just.
gamer.
Yeah, I know. I've been exposed right
Doesn't
here,
know what
right here
imminent
live.
means.
Like,
Jeez.
no, I absolutely know what imminent means, and it's you keep using
Wait,
that
John,
word.
before you
I don't
ask
think it
your
means what you
question,
think it means.
I have to shout out Jasmine for also being a branding champion because if I'm not mistaken, after a quick Google search, you are wearing the jacket of Impact Reality PR, right? Yeah.
Oh, cool! Look at that.
There it
That is
is.
cool. That's
okay.
that is a nice
Anyway.
jacket, actually.
That is
But
keep going with your question.
yeah, so well, it's not so much a question, more of just like a statement on VR, really. Like so I'm one of those guys who like I can't wear a VR headset for more than like 30 or 45 minutes, or I'll like I'm like oh. But that's not an issue with VR. That's just an issue with me. But one thing I do appreciate about VR is one of the coolest VR, actually the coolest VR experience I've had was Resident Evil 4. For the VR. Now, Resident Evil 4 is one of my favorite games of all time. And as somebody who has a military background, actually, I find that I can use that skill set to actually play Resident Evil 4 VR with far greater accuracy than I ever could with a controller. Because like I find myself just doing like firing drills, like when a bunch of ganados are swarming me. Like I get back into that military mindset, and it's one of those things where, like I'm always going to be a console guy, like first and foremost, but there's no denying the incredible, not just the immersion of VR, but also the way that you can actually bring real world physical skills or physical like muscle memory into the games that you're playing, depending on certain skill sets and whatnot. I think that is something that is extremely cool about VR. And so like where do you I guess my question is, what sort of things would you like to see? What sort of things would you like to see enacted in VR in the future? Like we talk about, the physicality of it, right? Like what are some interesting gaming experiences that you would want to see translated into VR? Like what do you think would move over well from the console side?
Okay. Oh man, there's like so many things going through my head. But first, I'm gonna say, have you guys ever heard of that game, Escape from Tarkov?
I have.
Mhm.
Just that little game.
Yeah.
Yeah. So because you said you have a military background, you know how that's like very like accurately based, I guess. Um, I don't know if you're familiar with that, Josh.
John, are you?
Escape from Tarkov. Yeah, I am actually. I've
It's
never
fun,
played
fun.
it. But I am aware of it.
She's like,
Okay.
you didn't know the last few games I talked about, so I had to make sure.
So there is now like a recreation of that in VR, and it's like a really good game. All the guns are super accurate. You have like your base and you go into raids, you grab stuff, bring it to your base, you get parts, you put it together, and everything's done like realistically. So even if you like unzip your backpack, like people will hear it, and it's like spatial audio,
That's
obviously.
really cool.
It's so good. I feel like if you look into that, it's probably gonna blow your freaking mind.
There was
Um,
there was actually another game, Jasmine. Did you ever play Alien Isolation?
it sounds like you like really scary games, so I'm gonna say no.
So
I've heard of
Yeah.
it, but I don't do scary games.
so like
Thank you.
Alien Isolation, you can actually like the alien can hear you breathe, and you've got to like
Mhm.
hold your breath, or like if you're hiding in a locker or something
I'm
like
gonna cry.
those
That's
are the
too
Scary.
much.
those are the no, but like
This
that's
does not
stealth.
sound
Yeah.
fun.
No, it's fun for me, but like that's stealth. Like that's what I want to see in VR is like more stealth experiences.
Mhm.
Like just imagine like sneaking around your living room. Like of course, there's got to be nobody there because people are gonna look at you like, what the fuck are you doing?
That's
But
the fun about VR, though.
that's
is watching
true.
other
That's
people
true.
play.
Yeah, my wife will do her. She does all her workouts in VR, and I'll like stand in front of her like,
Mhm.
she doesn't know I'm there. I can't believe. Hopefully, she's not watching this. But I'm just kidding, honey. I don't do that. But like that, like I want to see a really cool stealth experience in VR.
You
I
should try Ghost of Tabor because that whole game is about stealth.
really.
Yeah, and it's like basically taking Escape from Tarkov and putting it directly into VR. Yeah, the whole point is you go into these raids and there's all these other. It's almost like a Hunger Games situation, right? Y'all get thrown in there and you got to get out without dying. And if you die, then you lose all your stuff that you're there with. And so it's instead of like a lot of like shooting per se, it's more about being quiet and like sneaking around.
That's awesome.
And
See,
again, even opening your backpack to put something in there, the zipper will make a sound.
that's my
Um,
Dang.
shit right there. Like
What kind of, so you said you don't like scary games, and I'm with you on that. So what are your favorite genres of VR games? Like what if you hear a game coming out is it a specific type of game? What gets you most excited?
mhm. Um, Okay, so I mean, I'll say like I really like rhythm games. That's kind of my base, but I think it's almost like a given. Like, of course, everyone plays Beat Saber and all these other like rhythm games. Um, and the question earlier too was like, what kind of experiences would be really cool in VR? So one of my favorite games in VR was it's like a space flight simulator type of game where you're like actually in like a little spacecraft and the whole point is to try to like attach to the space station and you're like adjust like your panels up here, you're adjusting the yaw, the roll, the pitch, and you're like really trying to control the movement of the spacecraft and trying to do all these different missions, I suppose. Like that's freaking cool. I'm probably never gonna get to go to space in my lifetime. I mean, maybe if I'm lucky, but like those kind of experiences, oh, those are my favorite. Any
Was
space related ones because it's so immersive and it feels close to being real.
was that Elite Dangerous, or is that a different one?
No, this one is a more technical one. So
Okay.
this one was called Inner Cosmos 2000. And then like a more storyline, pretty looking VR like space game that I really like is Red Matter and Red Matter 2. So that series, oh man, is so good. If you like Stranger Things and you like
I do like Stranger
really,
Things.
this is like it's like space and Stranger Things put together into a game on Red Matter. And on top of that, it's like the ending is like mind blowing. You kind of just like you're just like, what the heck just happened? So I actually had to go to Reddit after I finished the Red Matter 1 series in VR, and I was like, what did the ending mean? And everyone had all their theories, and it was great. So until Red Matter 2 came out, we all were kind of confused about what was happening.
So, Jasmine, I actually had a question, and I guess we'll use this to kind of like launch into our first topic, which is VR, specifically PSVR 2. So PSVR 2 launched, I want to say what, like a few weeks ago? Maybe like like a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And it hasn't taken the world by storm. It hasn't sold very well. Not because the tech is unimpressive. The tech is actually, from what I hear, quite impressive. There's a myriad other issues at play, I think, that are affecting the sales of the device, namely like the price and the lack of like a true killer app, like an Astrobot, that's another game I should have mentioned. Like I've played Astrobot on PSVR. Astrobot, no, dude, Astrobot
is
rules.
my game to talk about, sir.
Astrobot
It
rules.
is the greatest VR experience of all time.
Astrobot is incredible. I remember playing Astrobot, and I was like, holy shit. But PSVR 2 has had a much rockier start than the original, and I've seen a lot of hyperbole about saying, people saying, VR is dead. Like I don't agree with that. Like just because PSVR 2 isn't selling well doesn't mean that VR itself is in trouble. But I wanted to know why you think, like, do you have any thoughts as to why the PSVR 2 hasn't taken off the way the original has, and what can they do to kind of like right the ship?
Personally, I think the PSVR 2 is doing pretty well, especially if you look at like the views on videos that people are putting out. Like PSVR 2 videos in general just get like a ton more views compared to other ones. But it's a couple of things. Um, okay, so I'm gonna get a little bit technical.
No, please.
So one is like, you have the Quest 2 headset, and that's a standalone, and people got very used to not having to use like not being tethered is one, and then also like being able to use the VR wherever they want rather than just like in one stationary place. So I think that's one thing. The second one is like the PSVR 2, if you look at it, is quite a big headset, and that's because of like the optical stack that's in there. And if you look at the new headsets that are coming out, like the XR Elite or like Big Screen just came out with a headset, all of those are so tiny that they're basically like little swimming goggles. And there's like one of them standalone, one of them's not. And so when you look at the competition of different types of headsets that are out there, it's like, I mean, why would I? Like, there's so many other options. Now, what PSVR 2 like does really well is that we know that PlayStation can get really good solid titles, and so that's what people are hoping for, and that's kind of what they're holding their breath on. Like once you guys come out with these insane titles, and we're seeing that slowly roll out, but it's not enough yet to convince people. So that, and then also the graphics. I mean, the visual quality looks really good. However, there is like a much smaller sweet spot on the eye part, and so a lot of people will have issues like with it being kind of blurry. And so there's a lot of like technical aspects of the headset that make it not as appealing as it could be. But I think once PlayStation comes out with some like killer titles, then it's gonna be like, well, I mean, those little tiny like spec issues or like I guess issues that people have with the headset isn't gonna matter that much if like there's just like a boatload of amazing titles that you can't get anywhere else.
Well,
Right.
like
I mean, that's the case with a lot of consoles or systems in general. Like, if the games are there, people forgive weaker hardware or minor like annoyances as long as they're having fun. It's when you have those issues and also not a lot of games to fall back on.
Well, Finn, no, Jeff, go ahead, please.
No, I was going to say I've got a question as well for Jasmine. I think for me, and I guess things are a little bit cheaper probably in the States, but like, here the PS5, which you need for the headset, is $850, and the headset's another $750. So you're looking at $1,500 to $1,600.
I think the VR headset, here is almost like $500. So it's like on par with like buying a PlayStation 5, which is still ridiculous.
I think the headset alone, comparing it to like high-end PC headsets, it actually seems like a pretty decent deal. in terms of like the hardware to the price ratio. But I know, yeah, like I know Meta has some headsets that are a much lower entry point. I'm just curious on your thoughts, like, because I've seen some people say, for me personally, the price is a big barrier, but I know with a lot of this niche stuff, like we see these like high-end graphics cards for PCs that cost $2,000 and they sell it instantly. So like, does price really matter for VR, or is it the hardware and the games? I'm just curious how big a role you think that plays in it.
Yeah, price matters a ton. It's kind of been crazy lately in the industry. So I think this a little history in the VR pricing wars, I suppose we can call it. Meta started first with the Quest 2 coming out so cheap, but it was just like that's not even like how the hell, and obviously
like how are you going to turn a profit off of that, right?
Mm-hmm. But like because they're a big company, it's more doable for them. And then after some point, after they like really captured the market, increased the price by $100, people like threw a fit, but they were still like, it's still really cheap. And then now we start seeing like, so PSVR 2, I think they're saying, okay, well, our headset, if you already have the the PS5 and you just need the headset, then like this headset by itself is already comparable to the Quest 2. So I guess that's okay. And then we saw like the Quest Pro come out at like $1,500, and I was like, "Are you crazy?" Before it was like 300, 400 for a headset. Now you come out with a Pro for 1,500, and they were like, "Sorry." Um, Another headset came out, XR Elite, and was like, "We're gonna be 1,200." And all of a sudden, Meta drops their Quest Pro price from 1,500 to 1,000. Like, there is a legitimate price war happening between all the headset, and like, I mean, that's just the tip of the iceberg. So yeah, price is very important, and people are very like aware of price, and that's also why the Quest 2, regardless of how even though there's a lot of like newer headsets that are out that are definitely like better quality and everything, people are like, well, it's just so easy, I don't need anything, and that's all I need, and it's like $500. I mean, yeah, so it's a pretty big deal.
Well, and I wanted to bring up something that you mentioned earlier, Jasmine, and something we touched on even before that, which is like, software, right? In my opinion, like the PSVR 2 launching without, and Finn, I know that you'll jump all over this. The PSVR 2 launching without an Astrobot title is like a Nintendo console launching without Mario. Like that's they
Switch
need.
didn't launch.
What's that? What? But or like a Zelda, right? Like launching without that killer app. Because you've got to launch like every major console, be it PlayStation, Xbox, or Nintendo, launches with that one game and that one franchise that just like draws people, be it Zelda, Halo, Mario, whatever it is. And I feel like for shut the fuck up, Finn. But I feel like for PSVR, Astrobot is that title. Because not only did it get incredible reviews when it launched on PSVR, but it was also a commercial success. And so I was convinced that PSVR 2 would launch with an Astrobot title, and it didn't. And I guess my question...
Not only that, but like not even an announcement that one's in development.
Right. Like there's just radio silence on it. And so I guess my question, Jasmine, is do you feel like PSVR 2 should have launched with a recognizable household name at this point, like Astrobot? I kind of feel like that's what everybody expected.
Yeah, I was gonna say it has Horizon, and like Gran Turismo is playable in VR. So it had like those two, and then obviously like Resident Evil is on there. So there's a couple, but like, is it enough? I don't think so.
Well, that's the thing, right? I feel like Horizon in VR and Resident Evil especially, and Gran Turismo, like those are all fine games, but also they're like in the case of like Horizon Zero Dawn, right? Like it's or Forbidden West, it's not the same experience that you get on the console version. It's like a whole different experience,
John,
right? Like
it's a built for VR game.
Right.
It's called Horizon Call of the Mountain.
Right, exactly. And so like I feel like none of those things have the widespread appeal that something like Astrobot does. Much in the same vein of like Mario, right? Like, Mario appeals to everyone, it kind of draws everyone in. And I feel like Astrobot could have done that. Right. I feel like
something more like accessible to everybody that
exactly
more people can appreciate and enjoy.
You said it much better than I did. So
really quickly, I think I thought that they made the Astrobot kind of, I don't remember what it was called, the one that came with the PS5, and I thought, bundling or basically making that game included with every PS5 sold was a very smart way to get everyone to play Astrobot and make it a recognizable name, so that when they launch a sequel for PSVR 2, everyone's like, "Oh, I love that Astrobot game. I need to grab this headset." And yeah, so I agree. I'm surprised. I feel like it almost has to be in the works, but
it has to be. It
yeah.
has to be. Like I don't know, Jasmine. What do you think? Do you think they're probably working on an Astrobot sequel?
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
hope so, I guess. Like, it's hard to know, right?
I don't know.
So Jasmine, because we don't want to take up too much of your time, I'd like to end our time with you by you just kind of gushing about your favorite VR experiences.
Oh, that's a good
Beat
question.
Saber, notwithstanding, because everyone loves Beat Saber. That's one of the gold standards.
My wife loves Beat Saber.
Maybe also give some recommendations for perfect jumping on point games for people that might not have dipped their toes into the VR experience.
Oh, okay, it's that easy. Have you? Oh my gosh, you guys need to look into Pixel Rip series. Pixel Rip is basically it's so nostalgic. It's like if you're if you ever grew up playing video games either in the 80s or the 90s.
Yes.
They recreate you're basically for example in the 1995 version you're like a little boy and you're in your house playing on your on your TV on your console, and you are playing the video game in front of you, but while all around you there's your parents yelling at you being go do your homework, or you better not be awake right now. And so while you're playing, for example, when you're trying to sleep or you're supposed to be asleep while you're playing, your mom could come walking to your room and you have to turn off the TV.
It's like that WarioWare mini game.
So it's you're doing two games at the same time. You're playing the game in the console, but you're also doing the simulation of you being a kid. And then some of the levels in that and some of the levels in that game, the one that you're doing 2D, it in the boss levels it transforms and becomes 3D, and all of a sudden it comes to life in your house around you. It's very cool. And the reason I like this for new players is because it's a seated experience, or something that's not a lot of movement. You're not running around somewhere. You're just sitting down and playing and stuff. So that's good for motion sickness kind of thing. And then other games, I mean, like I said, Red Matter 1 and Red Matter 2 is just if you've ever wanted to do space exploration and also wanted a game that's so mind-blowing in terms of storyline, those are some pretty good ones. There is a new game that just released the other day called The Last Worker. It's also on PC, but that one's all about if robots and AI took over the world, what would that be like? And it's a very dystopian type of environment. And I did play it because it's on PC, but it's also in VR, so I played it in PC. And it's it's just not the same. I don't know, it's so hard for me to play flat games. That's what we call it. If you ever hear the term flat or pancake game, that just means that it's not VR. And it's not the same. But then when you play it in VR, you're like, wow, this is what it would really feel like. I don't know.
I'm sorry, Jasmine. I'm gonna start calling the games I play pancake games. I can't resist now. That's brilliant.
And there's also I don't know. I don't think it's a derogatory term, because pancakes are delicious. But
it's
for
not.
example, okay,
no, not at all.
In the VR industry, if someone only plays if we're talking about someone and they're not a VR person and they don't play VR games, we're oh, they're a flat gamer or a pancake gamer.
I'm absolutely a pancake gamer.
We will convert you. I'm gonna get you into Tabor, and then you're gonna lose your mind, and you're done.
Well, so on that front, Jasmine, I have one final question for you, because I know that you've got other stuff you got to do, and I don't want to take up any more of your time. But where, if I wanted to, are you on social media? Can I follow you on social media?
Oh.
Where can people find you?
Yeah,
right.
Time to hype up yourself and your channel and even your PR firm.
Please.
Let us know.
Yeah, I guess I didn't even talk about the kind of content that I make, but
yeah, please.
I'm on YouTube and on TikTok. Again, when I said my origin story was really giving tutorials and helping people get into the VR industry. So I would say the way I describe my content is a warm hug into the VR industry, because it's very friendly, very it's very easy for people to understand. I go pretty like I try to make it accessible for everybody, but at the same time, like I do tech reviews again, and like I do have like an engineering background, so I can get like pretty technical, but I'll always make it so that people understand what I'm talking about. Um, yeah, so I'm on YouTube and on TikTok primarily. I also have like Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, but I would say I'm more of like a long form, short form video content creator type.
I actually just found you on Twitter, so I gave you a follow. If you are comfortable telling people what your Twitter handle is, that's great. If not, that's
Cool.
great too.
Great. I'm VR with Jasmine everywhere.
Perfect. All right. All right. Well, I just followed you. I just followed you on Twitter. I know that you've got other things to do tonight, Jasmine. This has been great. I want to thank you for because I know your time is valuable, and I want to thank you for spending spending a little bit with us tonight, kind of talking us through this. And you've actually given me. I don't want to speak for the rest of the group, but you've actually given me a much kind of broader perspective on VR as a whole. And I deeply because I deeply appreciate it because I love games. I love the industry. And I love I want nothing more than to see every aspect of this industry flourish. And VR is
There are two more things I forgot it to mention.
Please, no, please.
Okay, so when you were asking like different things that you can do in VR, I actually have a VR treadmill. You can't see because I have a green screen behind me. But yeah, I have a VR treadmill, and I instead of like using your thumbstick to walk around in VR, you can just walk around on the treadmill.
Oh wow,
that's pretty cool.
Incredible. Yeah.
That is pretty cool. That is pretty
I also
cool.
have like a haptic vest so that you can feel if you're like getting shot or if people like hug you or like I don't know anything in VR. Yeah, I have one of those.
The immersion of the haptic vest, like if you're getting shot, as somebody who's been shot at, I don't know if I can handle that. That sounds so intense.
No, this one's like a nice one. It's a haptic vest, so it's like a massage.
Okay.
It's like it just vibrates, and so it feels really good. But there is actually another vest that is coming out, and it's like a TENS machine, and so it like zaps your muscles and makes it contract to make it feel like something. That one hurts. I cover a lot of like VR tech on my channel, along with like different games and stuff. So that's kind of some of the stuff that you could find on there.
So I could absolutely put on that haptic vest and play like a first-person shooter on VR and be like, "Massage me, motherfuckers!" like I
honestly,
could
that is exactly what we do. We like hang out in the lobbies of a shooter game, and we're just like, "Okay, shoot me now. Okay, now my turn."
Yeah. Thanks for the massage.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And then there's some games too, like more open world type of things where like they have little tools that you can use, and so someone made like a back massager, and they're like. Then you can like back massage yourself in VR with a haptic
All of a
vest
sudden, Brit's like, "Excuse me, what?" Like, I can massage my own back.
Yeah, man, VR is so great, but yeah, we definitely just scratched the surface. And if any of you have any interest, like, let me know. I'll let you. Like, I am convinced that if I was given 10 minutes with someone, I could convert them into a VR person.
I just want to say real quickly, Jasmine, that I've like obviously you're not familiar with me and the podcast probably that much, but I've last few years I've become not jaded but like very kind of disillusioned with just bored, I guess, with like traditional games that I used to love. And there's nothing wrong with people who still enjoy that. Like obviously shooters and stuff are very popular, but just like I sometimes get the feeling like I feel like I've played everything there is to play. And VR, I've actually gotten a lot into like quasi simulation type games, like especially Microsoft Flight Simulator.
This is the flight simulator king right here.
Yeah, I know, and I know that has a very cool looking VR mode, but I think VR is it's unfortunate the price is still a bit of a barrier for me, but I'm definitely keeping an eye on the space, and I want to say that Pixel Ripped, the description you gave for that game, is the most exciting thing I've heard described to me in like probably the last year. I fucking love the concept of that, and I'm definitely going to check out your channel because I think once I do get my hands on a headset, hopefully in the next couple of years, I'm really looking for different kinds of experiences. And I think VR is just such a really cool and novel way to like immerse yourself and do things differently that you can't do with a traditional controller. So thank you so much for making all this content.
It's definitely going to, yeah, it's gonna ruin flat gaming for you. It's so hard for me. It has to be so, and there's like a whole modding community as well. So like even for say something like Hogwarts Legacy, like like someone will mod that, and within like a couple of, like someone did mod it within a couple of days because people are like, I don't want to play this flat. Someone do something, and then people play in VR. Yeah.
Awesome.
That's impressive. I mean, just in general, that kind of turnaround, especially turning something into a VR game. So awesome.
Yeah, but thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.
Thank
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
taking
Thanks
the
for
time.
coming.
It's been our
And
pleasure
especially
for sure.
how busy your month has been.
Yeah.
So go rest and relax and be awesome as always, I guess. Thank you so much, Jasmine.
Thank you so much,
all.
Jasmine.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, no.
So John, what's I think we should jump to CJ now, huh?
No, hold on. Wait. I got to get the Pixel Remaster shit off my chest.
No, because
if
CJ,
we start,
no.
we'll never stop.
No, it's only
Yeah,
gonna...
let CJ talk about his
Fine.
trip.
Let CJ talk.
Fine.
Let CJ
God,
talk.
you've waited how long? You can wait 20
Shut the
minutes.
fuck
It's
up,
fine.
Finn.
You've been
Fine.
talking about this shit on Twitter, John. You're a fucking Square Enix content creator. God damn it. How much more do you talk about it? How much more?
I just realized I can mute CJ.
Like from the podcast?
Losing
Yeah.
Derek has
God damn.
given
Yeah. Wow, hold up. Muting
Now
a
I've-
minority
You don't
on
have
your
to take this
podcast
from
isn't...
you don't have to take this from a pancake gamer, CJ.
Oh, he's muted. Look
Ooh.
at that. Wow. Not anymore. Go ahead, man.
You know what?
Yeah,
I was
look.
gonna make a very unfair
I just
comparison
wanted-
to John.
I just wanted
man.
a taste of that
So
power
look,
that
guys,
Derek
I'm
wields.
used to white people
Oh,
silencing me
CJ.
one way or another.
John, way to be a Tennessee like court person.
It's fine, I guess, John. If the pixel remasters matter more than any sense of like ethics, go ahead, man. Go
No,
ahead.
actually, CJ, I do want you to talk about the
All
new
right.
Fallen Order game.
I want to hear the whole I want to hear how LA was. I want to hear.
I want you to
about-
take an hour of our time to
Well,
talk about it.
don't take an
Yeah,
hour
I
of our
won't.
time, but
I won't take an hour. Okay, so last week I went to Los Angeles. EA and Respawn flew me out to cover Jedi Survivor. It was cool. I played like 3 hours of it. As far as LA goes, I didn't stay anywhere touristy. I didn't really see that much. So I walked to a breakfast place and I saw Orson Welles' star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and that was kind of cool. I recognize every single street from both GTA 5 and Collateral. It's the funniest thing in the world. Every time I got on a bus, I would send someone.
Did you see a South Central
Collateral,
deer,
you
CJ?
mean that mid movie?
Shut the. First of all, Finn.
Oh. First of all, I love Collateral, but I know CJ really loves it. And
It's
I
like
just need
that
to
movie.
get his-
That's my vibe. No, bring Finn back. He wants to hear about Star Wars. Bring him back. Bring him back.
All right,
Bring him
I'll
back.
bring him back.
Bring him back. Bring him
I'll
back.
bring him back. Let me.
Hell's Finn.
I'm bringing him.
Damn.
I'm bringing him back.
Actually, while we wait, I'm gonna link my my review in the Discord chat. If someone can link that to the Twitch chat.
I will not tolerate anti-collateral propaganda in here. I'm sorry.
That's real. But like as far as LA goes, it was cool to be somewhere different. The weather was nice. And what it sort of represented was cool because it was the first time I did any sort of like big preview event. I played about 3-4 hours of Jedi Survivor. I've talked about this before. I think last year, actually, like about a year ago, when I was reviewing Lego Star Wars: The Complete Saga, the Skywalker Saga for Game Critics. I like completely fell off of Star Wars after The Rise of Skywalker. I felt like that was like the point where I'm like, yeah, this thing I used to love is like dead, and it hurt me because that was like the center of like all my pop culture consumption for like the longest time. It was like the thing that got me into like wanting to make movies, and I haven't really gotten that back, that sort of like desire back. Hey Finn. And
welcome back.
So Lego Star Wars got me back. This I played like 2 hours of the original Fallen Order. I didn't like it that much. Something about it just didn't click with me. After playing this demo, I came back, I re-downloaded Fallen Order. I'm like almost done with it. That was like a way to kind of prepare myself and to kind of articulate what I like about it. So the demo is great. Combat's better. I mentioned in my preview that it's a little bit more in line with something like Force Unleashed, like where it's more aggressive. It's a little more intimate with fights. There's still a lot of strategy involved because you got to balance out like health and force powers, but I like that it's more focused, it's more streamlined. It feels like Respawn's more confident making a third person action game. Um, it's still a bunch of like it's still a pastiche of like every single AAA concept put into a game, but less. You can see less of the blemishes, right? A lot of the Fallen Order felt like it felt like it was all cobbled up together by different parts of different games, which is fine, I guess, because Star Wars needed something like that. But it wasn't as seamless as something like Spider-Man. Whereas you're playing Spider-Man, sure, it's an Arkham riff, but it's a good Arkham riff. Fallen Order couldn't really find its niche, and it didn't really feel like it didn't feel like Star Wars. It didn't feel enough like Star Wars for you to kind of ignore all those flaws.
The sliding around the little
Yeah,
that didn't feel Star Warsy to you, just going down the water slides.
Yeah, I know. Right. Even the combat didn't feel like right. It just didn't feel like I was playing a Star Wars game. It just felt like I was playing something with a Star Wars skin over it. Survivor. It remedies a lot of that. All the combat's, like I said, more confident, more focused. Now every lightsaber is mapped to like a different stance. So the two I tried were like the dual wielded one and the double bladed one. So as opposed to like the original game where it's mapped to like force abilities, or you just kind of like pop back and forth between a single and a double. Here it's its own separate stance, and it has its own separate skill tree. And I loved it. I like that every single one had like their strengths. Finn, did you want to say something? I'm sorry.
No.
Okay. And they all have their advantages. Like the dual wielding is better for like more intimate fights, and it's a lot faster. While the double bladed is better for like crowd control. If like a bunch of stormtroopers are ganging up on you, you can kind of handle them a little bit easier. What else did I see in my demo? They had battle droids, which was cool because prequel nostalgia is like a real thing. That's like those are the movies that I have the most, like they give you the most psychic, like either damage or just like pure love. Which was cool hearing like their voices and everything. What else did I see in my demo? I don't want to talk too much because I have like a list of things I can't talk about.
Is it still very like Dark Soulsy?
You know what? It's so the first game is like is basically Dark Souls light, right?
Right.
In
exactly.
a lot of like its systems. Here, it still has that sort of like combat where you can lock onto people and you can do like a one-on-one fight, but again, it's a lot faster and your attacks are a lot stronger.
Well,
So it doesn't feel.
I don't know if they confirmed this to you, CJ. I think I read someone saying.
Mhm.
I think the problem with the first game I had was like, it's fine if people want a Dark Souls game, but that's not what I wanted. And it started
Exactly.
off very slow and limited. And I felt like only in the last hour of the game when I finally had all the abilities was like, oh, like now I'm a bad. Does this game start with all those abilities, or are you kind
So
of?
I started an hour. It started an hour into like the game. Like they put us an hour into it. But Cal has he's a little more confident. Again, it feels like he's more powerful. I haven't finished the first game. I'm on like what is it? I passed without spoiling too much. Like I got the main MacGuffin, and I'm retrieving it. Right, like that. I'm at that point. So I'm sort of at that point where Cal has most of his abilities. Now it's starting to click. Right. In my demo, all in. A lot of that is thanks to, and to answer your question, John, it still has a lot of Souls-like elements the same way the modern Assassin's Creed games have those Souls-like elements, right? Where it's like very.
When you rest, for example, or like when you meditate, do the enemies respawn?
It's still,
like...
yeah.
Okay.
Still that. But it's not that bad, right? And even then, you don't have to kill the person who killed you to get your XP or health back. You hit them once, you get it all back, and you can run around. Like there was like one optional boss that was fucking me up, and I was able to just get whatever I lost and run out. I'm trying to think what else was there. Oh, they added the ability like to dismember enemies now, which was the thing that was missing.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Oh my gosh, that is so like that was like the best part because again. Force Unleashed is like one of my favorite like Star Wars games ever. It's not great, but I played a lot when I was younger.
CJ, my dear departed friend Joel, years ago, we were so excited for the Force Unleashed to come out, and I called him. I was like, "How is it?" And he says, "John, dude, you'll love this." He says, "John, I just threw a Wookiee through a fucking tree, and I've waited my entire life to say that.
That is the sickest thing in the world. So this is basically that, right? Like me being someone who didn't love who didn't really give the first game a fair shot. I was like in love with like a lot of the combat, a lot of the abilities, everything. It was a cool experience to be able to play it. It shot up now to like, okay, now I'm actively looking forward to like playing it. At first, it was just a thing where I'm like, all right, I have to review it, I guess. Now I'm like, all right, bring it on. I'm gonna finish the first game.
Is this an open world title?
So the areas are a lot bigger now. There's like towns and stuff. It has that very Western samurai vibe that like Star Wars proper has. You go into towns. Cal is kind of like the Yojimbo type, where he just wanders in and he, becomes like this reluctant hero. There's like settlements elements too that I didn't get to touch on, but I had read about. It's a lot bigger, which I mean I appreciate. I just don't know how it'll incorporate to the main game, or how like planet hopping will, right? Because a lot of the first game is, from what I've experienced so far, it's you go to one planet, you're given a bunch of exposition, you jump to a different planet, you're given a bunch of exposition, then you go back to the last planet you're at to like, so it's like this weird loop. So I don't know if they kind of like worked it out where every planet will have its own, like feel very distinct and have its own huge chunk of like gameplay. That remains to be seen. The planet I was on was called Kobo. It was like a new one that they created for like this game, which had like this deserty town, some jungles, some not a refinery, but like some imperial base. So I'm hoping like there's more variety in that regard, and but I think it is going to be more open. And one final note, EA gave me a lightsaber.
Pop that bad boy open. Let's see that thing. Like,
it doesn't do anything.
It doesn't do anything
yet. No, it doesn't.
CJ, never pointed at your face, because that's when it's going to do something.
Oh my prediction is they're going to send me something before the game comes out, right? They're probably going to send some influencer thing. I don't know. This is all me just talking out of my ass.
I have one criticism of this game from what I've seen so far, and it's that,
Right.
and maybe you guys correct me, maybe I'm wrong, but
Is
I
it
had
Cal?
You're wrong.
no, not
Cal
at all.
kinda sucks.
What's that? Okay.
It's like Cal kind of sucks.
Oh,
Cal does not suck.
so
How
here's the thing about.
dare
All right,
you.
so I'll detour real quick. Some of those new like hairstyle and facial hair choices make him look like a fucking men's
Oh my
rights
God.
men's rights
No,
guy.
I was
and
gonna
that
say,
sucks.
I
are
love
you
it.
even
Oh
a
my God.
real journalist if you haven't told me about the mullet?
Oh, I didn't get the mullet. I got the dude. Like there's a bit where I could have made Cal look like every single light skinned man in the world, but no, I got like the fade and the long beard. Incredible. There's more customization in Cal if you want to make him. You can customize facial hair. You can customize hairstyles. You can customize what he
Poncho.
wears. Yeah, the poncho, and you get jackets too.
I was gonna
Doesn't wear
say, like,
poncho.
I haven't seen him wearing a poncho. Like,
So that's cool. Like there's more customization. You get different lightsaber colors too. In my demo, I think I played with like a white lightsaber, like the color of it was white. So that was cool. Again, like I'm excited. Like it feels good to be back.
so you played with the
playing,
privilege
like-
saber.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yes. It just feels good to be not only back like playing like a Star Wars game, just back into Star Wars in general. We'll see how long this hyperfixation lasts, but I'm looking forward to the game. It's out April 28th.
And that's
You
my,
haven't read my preview?
CJ. That's my criticism is that I don't feel like they've done a great job marketing this game, because
It's weird because it got delayed. It got delayed.
I had no idea it was
I-
coming out at the end of this month.
I think here's my thing. So the first game, its marketing cycle was bizarre, right? We didn't know anything about it for like months, actually a year almost. E3 they showed off a lot, then that was kind of it, and then like reviews didn't come out till like the day before it came out, and now it's like this big success, right? In this case, I mean, I'm seeing trailers for it everywhere. I go to the movies, they always play it right before. Whatever I watched, LA had this huge print ad on like the side of a building, which was kind of cool. I guess we'll see. It's Star Wars. My only thing is it's only on PS5 and Series X and PC, so I don't know if that'll hinder anything.
So it's
but
not
I
a
feel
cross-gen game.
it's not cross-gen, which I mean, thank God.
Yeah, that's a
Um,
good
At a
thing.
certain
because
point, you gotta cut it
and
off.
the first game is like, even the PS5 version of the first game is rough. It's a rough game. Like it's struggling, but that was my thought too, where I'm like, I don't know how well this will do relative to the first game, because I feel like something like Spider-Man Miles Morales sold incredibly well because it was still a cross-gen title. We'll see. I mean, I'm sure it's still Star Wars. It'll be fine. I'm sure people are still gonna pay. However, they people still want single-player Star Wars games. Someone who isn't into Battlefront is gonna want something that they can play, right? So I'm sure it'll be fine. We'll, I'm sure Disney will recover. Uh, but yeah, that's it. I had a good time. I'm excited for
Awesome.
this
No,
game.
dude, I'm so it's so cool that you got the opportunity to do that, man.
Yeah.
Like that is really fucking cool. that
Right,
got to do
you're
that.
muted.
I was gonna say Disney just afforded Lizzo and Jack Black on their show, so I think
Yeah.
I think they'll be
okay.
fine.
Yeah, I think they should have CJ on their show. That's what I think. But we'll touch on one quick topic, and then there's two more that I want to move into. The Pixel Remasters finally got a release date, which is April 19th. It took them 2 years to get to consoles, and Jeff and I have talked about this, but the journey to their console release date, as happy as I am, has just been utterly bizarre. And Jeff was actually more invested in the saga behind how these games got to console than the actual games themselves. Like
I was like looking every hour to see if there was news on it, and now this is just the most boring, disappointing outcome that they're just coming out in a couple weeks, and they got a new font, and everyone's happy. Like, this is so fucking. I'm just. Where's the drama?
Jeff was like, it was just
this
so
is not what I was
anticlimactic.
promised.
Like
I'm happy for you. I'm happy for you. John.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Is like, like I am thrilled that they're coming out finally on consoles. And like full disclosure, we will get a code before it releases, and I'll be streaming them. And I am more than anything else, I'm just glad they fixed the fucking font, right, Finn? Like, because
Yes.
that
I mean, it was one of
default
those things that
font,
we
like,
all thought was going to happen, but until you actually see it happen, you just don't
It's
know.
like the Resident Evil 4 remake, right? It was
Right.
inevitable, but like you got to see it to like believe it.
But like, as the other Final Fantasy
Oh.
guy in this podcast, Finn, I got a question for you. Like, why do you think it took them so long to move? What, Britt?
said
You don't
Final
like
Fantasy
the Britt?
guy,
Britt, you're
Britt.
not the
This is
old
guy
Britt.
talk.
Britt, you're not the biggest fan of the older games, though.
This guy talk.
Britt,
I see how it is.
Brit, hold up, Brit. It's not gaming gatekeeping thing. It's misogyny.
yeah,
That's what it is.
absolutely. That, yeah.
Here's the
I
thing,
want to
Brit.
hear it from you, CJ, of all
Brit.
people.
What John meant to say was because
No,
he doesn't give a
Brit
shit about the
doesn't.
Pixel
Brit
remasters.
doesn't care about
He's
Final
talking
Fantasy
about how
VI.
I'm the only other massive Final Fantasy VI fan, and that's
That's not what he said. He said
really
Final
confusing.
Fantasy
But no,
fan.
Yes,
but, okay.
but
What I
that's
meant
not what
was,
he
okay,
said.
Britt. What I should
Yeah.
have said. What I should have
Dead his
said
ass.
was
was
nothing.
No, shut the fuck up, Finn. What I should have said was the only other guy on this podcast or person on this podcast who really loves like the old Final Fantasy games.
Man, I
Like,
missed having Finn on the podcast, bro. This is fun.
I did.
Oh, I bet it is. I bet it's just a
I
fucking
did.
treat for you, CJ.
But I will actually. I'll ask everyone here. Like, why do we think that this took so long to? Because I mean, it's been 2 years now. So why did this take so long to get here? Like,
As the non-Final Fantasy guy, I'll answer your question with the question: why is it taking so long for them to drop like Chrono Trigger onto consoles? Why is it taking so long
Don't
for
even
Square Enix to? You know what I'm saying? Why is it taking so long for Square Enix to drop to like Square Enix and Nintendo to work something out to drop Mario RPG on?
don't even get me started.
You
on
know,
that shit,
SNES
man.
on. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like no one knows why certain game companies do certain things. Hell, look, it took Nintendo forever to drop a Metroid Prime like remaster, right?
Yeah.
I mean, my suspicion is it's probably super boring, and it's probably like 10 different factors. They probably wanted the right release window. They probably wanted, not that Final Fantasy can't hold its own, but I mean, Pixel remasters old games. It's not Final Fantasy 16.
Especially the
It's like-
same year that's coming
Yeah.
out. Yeah, like a mainline game's
they
coming
probably
out.
wanted to avoid their own games, even though they don't seem to care about without some other releases. They probably wanted to avoid the holiday window. They probably had some, there's all the legality to work out with Nintendo and Sony. There's probably some sort of arrangement or agreement in terms of platform stuff. Obviously, we know they'll never release any of their games on Xbox. But
Yeah.
I think it's probably all that stuff combined. And then, of course, taking the feedback from the original ones. Obviously, they took some of that feedback and introduced a new font. They've got the music choices and things like that. I think they just really wanted to get this one right and release it at the right time. That's probably all there is really to
I
it.
think look back last year and how almost every month had a Square Enix drop of some sort. And then now, with it coming out the way it is, it's not competing against anything else Square is dropping. Because even the
Yeah.
beginning of this year was stacked with Square games between Octopath and Forspoken and
Theater Rhythm.
Yeah, true.
Theater
Yeah.
Rhythm. Yeah, so I mean,
Oh, Feet Rhythm. I'm sorry.
Feet Rhythm. It's Feet Rhythm.
the and it could be seen as like a capstone to the anniversary. So
That's-
like ending the fiscal year with the Pixel remasters. And would it have mattered to us? No, because we would have prioritized it right away. But you know, they got to think long term and the whole audience, and not just
That's-
super fans.
That's viable. That's
Does it suck? Yeah. But I mean, it's Square. Square's gonna Square, and we're gonna be there and buy their shit when it comes out. It's,
Well, no, Finn. That's a good explanation. And I've actually got one more question for Britt. So
Oh, do you?
I-
Thanks. Glad you saved me for last.
I do.
Let's hear it.
I saved the best for last, always.
Nope.
Oh,
Women
yes.
always comes last. Let's go.
Oh.
Let's hear it.
Man, shut
isn't
up.
that a good thing though?
So
No,
so at
If
any,
they come at all, Finn.
it's true. I wouldn't know.
anyway, this is getting weird. Anyway,
Uh,
there's. God damn it! You fucking threw off my train of
I
thought.
just like
okay,
derailing John.
shut up. Okay, so anyway.
Oh, look, he forgot his question when he got to the woman.
No,
what a
I've got
fucking
the
surprise.
I've got the fucking all right. So the Pixel remasters on consoles have a slew of like upgrades from the PC versions, right? Like Jeff said, you can switch between the old music tracks and the new ones if you want. You can switch the fonts. There are experience multipliers. There's AP multipliers. There are all these new features, and my question, Britt, is: do you think that they are going to mod these into the PC and mobile versions?
I mean, absolutely, probably at some point. I don't know, because Square's really weird about their re-releases of Final Fantasies and their old JRPGs, because it's like they have like so many different versions of these games that have been re-released or remastered, and it's like I want to say, yeah, of course they'll do that, but look how long it took them to give us these games on console. 1 and 2, like look how many variations of these fucking games there are. So I don't know. I guess maybe sure.
It's just a slew. It's just a bunch of strange decisions, right? Like we've talked about the extra content from the GBA versions, and that doesn't matter to me, but it matters to someone like Finn. And
hurts so bad.
and it's just. Do I think it's an odd decision to admit that? Yeah. I can absolutely see them not updating the PC versions with all these new features. I absolutely can.
And
What's
somebody
their
will mod it,
market?
even if they don't. Somebody will.
I mean, it depends on the market on PC, right? Like, what's the gap between someone who's gonna buy these all on PS5 versus someone who's gonna buy them on PC, right?
Or
If we're
Switch.
if we've all been clamoring for them to be on console, what's the point of them going back to the PC version, right? I assume if you have a PC, you probably have something else that you're gonna play this specific game on, right?
What right? Like
real
yeah.
quickly, John, I just want to say I was not aware of the new features aside from the font and the music. You mentioned the XP boost, and that was a big complaint I had of the PC release, because I'm sure like you guys have heard me bitch about my experience with Final Fantasy X. It's like I'm just kind of done with grinding in old
Yeah.
JRPGs. I can appreciate their design. I know what they did at the time, but like that's not really like
Same.
the way I like to
That-
enjoy games. So the
That's
fact
actually
can
why I
go-
quit 6.
Yeah, so the fact I can go play 5 and 6, like these games people really like, turn on 4 times XP boost, not have to worry about grinding, and just like enjoy the game the way I want to is really fucking cool. So kudos to them. I still hope they add it to the PC version, but kudos to them at all for adding that, because I really thought these would just
Absolutely.
be a straight up dump of the PC version, and that's not the case.
I think it just like it gives a younger generation
Mhm.
the opportunity
Yep.
to fully enjoy these games without having to worry about dated gameplay mechanics and
excited.
that stuff, because like even with Final Fantasy 8 and Final Fantasy 9, the
It's still
HD
kind of archaic, right?
remasters.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
and like thank God, even with Chrono Cross, like thank God you can speed up the battles and like running around the area, because that shit is slow and like ain't nobody got time for that anymore.
I'm looking at the trailer again here. You can even boost the gil, and
Yeah.
you can turn encounters off.
Yep.
It's crazy.
Like,
That's
Oh
insane.
man,
like they've
really?
actually.
I quit because I kept running. I was doing that fucking scene where you can save Shadow or don't, and I just kept fucking. I was trying to save him, but I kept getting into encounters, and he was dying because I couldn't get there in time.
No,
Um,
actually, you get there, and then you just sit there and wait for the clock to run out, and he comes.
No, I thought it was if you ran out of time, he.
No.
If you ran out of time, you lose
Right.
because
But
That's-
but
yeah.
but if you get to the end and there's time left on the clock, you just sit there and wait. And
then he automatically shows up before the timer.
at like
hits
1
zero.
second, yeah, he'll show up.
But you can leave before he gets there, right?
You can.
Correct.
You can.
Okay, so that's what I was fucking up on. But yeah, essentially it was just.
But
There's some parts of the game where I'm like, okay, this
Yeah.
I don't want to I don't want to run through encounters anymore, or I have to backtrack. I missed something, and I'm like, fuck. Like now I'm gonna have to go through 80,000 enemies, and I don't have enough potions, and it's just like.
But that's the thing is that they've added so many cool new features to the console releases. It's kind of wild,
Yeah.
actually. Like,
Yeah.
And
Well,
yet they
it's-
couldn't add my damn extra espers and dungeons from the Final Fantasy
oh,
VI
you'll
Game
still
Boy
buy it
Advance.
on PS4,
Of
and you'll
course,
be
I'm
happy.
still gonna buy it, but I'm like, damn, son, like, come on.
So we
As
have.
someone who's never played these games in any capacity or who's never touched the JRPG, that's a lie. I played a few, but I'm exaggerating. I'm very excited. I'm all in. Like this is what the only way I could have played this without emulating the GBA
Yeah.
games.
And I think
I
that's what's
am-
going to make these the definitive version, CJ's. Just,
Oh,
just the fact that they're so
100%.
accessible.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I'm all in. My concern is because I didn't really look into the details. What's pricing and like the what how is it?
The first
They announced
$70, I
anything?
think?
So for the whole bundle, it's $74. If you just want the games individually, the first three, which are the older ones, are 11 something, and the rest are like 14 something. So
That's
so
not bad.
and honestly,
It's good that you could still buy them individually.
Yeah.
I was worried they'd make it only a package deal. So that's
Well, I wouldn't mind buying them as a package deal. I just want to know, like, if it was like that's the thing because I plan on buying these digital 74 digitally.
yeah, but that's for all
Oh.
6 games. So
That's six. Yeah,
I mean, it's 6
like
games. So,
it's $10 a game. That's not bad.
but I don't want to take any more time on the Pixel remasters because we'll be playing them soon. So no, we have two. So we have 2 more topics, and we can get through these. And I want to leave it up to the group as to what we talk about first. We have the death of E3, and we have Sony's leaked handheld. What do you guys
Those are
want?
two. I think we should do E3 because we skipped it last week.
Okay, let's do E3 first, and we'll get through this, and then we'll talk about because I really want to talk about that handheld.
Jeff Keighley
Um,
fucking sniped
Dude,
E3
his
from across the
fucking
map.
his tweets as
Brutal,
E3 was dying was like,
Look,
Jeff Keighley, Jeff Tiernick, 2 Jeffs having a good day on the same good. Holy shit! Let's fucking go!
y'all,
Incredible.
you people say Jeff killed E3. He didn't.
He didn't.
He
He didn't.
is,
He didn't.
however, a fucking genius that
100%.
capitalized on the situation. And you know the best part is, none of his tweets are malicious.
No.
no,
But
not
the
at all.
timing is always perfect. And you know he had that shit drafted and queued up, just waiting to hit send
Because
for whenever the
Keighley
next news
had
comes.
that dog in him. Motherfucker came swinging out the gate. Big dick switch.
People
that we're all
have-
gonna.
People
Oh
have
my
issues
God.
with Jeff, and you know it's some are valid, some I think are just a product of more or less a little tint of jealousy because this is a man that through sheer will and his own connections saw E3 flounder and said, "I'm gonna step in," and he converted his admittedly small yet constantly growing video game awards show at the end of the year and said, "Hey, I'm gonna essentially just take that concept, but instead of the awards, just the game announcements, and fill in this gap at E3 that has been slowly growing wider and wider."
Yeah.
And Summer Games Fest started, and as each year as E3 took more and more blows, because Jeff does not need to rely on Sony going all in or Xbox going all in on Summer's Game Fest, but he knows that because of the clout he's built up and the audience he's built up with the Game Awards, that they're going to want to save a couple announcements for the Summer Games Fest, independent of their own direct
Everyone's
state of
gonna want a
play.
piece of that. Like
Well, and-
everyone's
and
gonna
that's-
want, yeah.
the
And
beauty of it.
what this does, Finn, is this like makes Jeff Keighley one of maybe the most powerful person in the industry. At least
And
the
by
person
all
with the most
accounts,
influence.
He is a very nice person. in
Right,
person.
like people
I've
give
met him before, and I mean, sure,
People
does he
give-
have an unhealthy obsession with Kojima? Yeah.
people
but you
give
know
him a
what?
hard time, but to be honest, he's also done more for the games industry than most three people combined will do. So
I will also say this. You can say what you want about his relationship with Kojima, but I guarantee you'll see more about his Death Stranding 2 and his unannounced Xbox game at Summer's Games Fest than you will at a State of Play or Xbox
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
showcase.
I think here's my thing. So someone who like hates the fucking Summer Games Fest, I still respect that. Like Keighley, again, Keighley's the only player in town. And we're all willing to sit through like 3 or 4 hours of like one press conference just for like whatever. Again, you gotta respect that sort of like power that like he has, right? He's the only show in town. People are gonna pay like however much for like those IMAX tickets to go watch it in theaters too. It's incredible. When was the last E3? Like the last true E3?
2019. 19? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
and we-
2019.
And we can all agree that like it's not coming back now, right? Like it's done. It's dead.
No way.
Yeah, here's the thing. I think if E3 comes back, it will never be back. It'll go back to its original form as an industry-only event. I don't.
It should
think-
have. It should have been.
I
from,
don't
like,
think it
it should
becomes
have
a
stayed
public
that
event
way.
anymore, and it should have. I mean, it is what it is. But the thing is, the E3 people remember as fans are the big bombastic press conferences with all
Right.
the memes and the hit moments. But E3 as a conference thrived because it was a networking event for publishers, developers, press, and all of that. And losing that connection and meet and greet aspect for the professionals in the industry does suck. I mean, we still have GDC, we still have Gamescom, but E3 was the massive, everyone was in American industry event. Opening it up to the public, I remember pissed off a lot of media and developers because suddenly you couldn't just do your job. You also had to appeal and entertain all of these just regular gamers when before your job was to get your game in front of as many people that could cover it as possible, and it was being treated as just like a PAX, and it's not a PAX.
You know what's wild to me is if you had asked me like literally a decade ago, like pretty much exactly a decade ago, that E3 where Sony just absolutely rolled right over Xbox and was like they did the whole meme was like, here's how you share your games on PlayStation 4 and they just
Yeah.
handed each other a game it was gaming's biggest hype event. If
I'm
you-
gonna miss the pettiness.
Right,
Oh
like
my god,
if,
yes.
if you had told me it like when what's his face came out and was like an actual selling point of the PS4, they hyped it up was you can play your games whenever you want with offline. And everybody's like, woo! And
the Don Matrick EA,
Yeah.
incredible stuff.
yeah, right,
Incredible.
like if you're on a nuclear sub, we have a console for you. It's called the Xbox 360. And
Do you remember when they fucking did the PS3 announcement with Ridge Racer?
Ridge
Ridge
Racer.
So good.
Giant enemy crabs. Oh my god.
And then they had
Or the
they had the Killzone 3 demo that was just a CG trailer and it wasn't actually
God.
indicative of the gameplay at all.
It's like woke culture killed all that.
But but like if you told me back then that like in less than a decade E3 would be dead, I would have laughed right in your fucking face.
Of course,
And
Absolutely.
and
because it was the only player in town. Even the directs hadn't started till like the year after, right? 2014 was like when
it was the
Nintendo
first
stopped doing
direct.
like
Yeah.
so. We like EA. I mean, E3 was it, right? The only reason why everyone's doing their own separate thing now is because of Nintendo Direct. Look, even fucking like THQ, Ubisoft,
They're all doing directs
Devolver.
now.
They all do directs, right? They don't even have the library to sustain like that, but they're still doing it because they know that they can control whatever narrative and whatever. Like they have all eyes on them for like that one like block. It's just incredible.
So here's my question.
It's just sad.
It
Like,
is
it's
sad.
Just,
like it's tragic.
it not only it's like an end of an era, but it's like the end of opportunities. That's so many. Like, I'm pretty sure Keeley got a start at E3. And it's just like it's just the end of so many opportunities for so many talented folks that, you know, are in the process of losing their jobs for companies, writing companies and everything. It's just like it was a good event for journalists to go out and experience, or even people, you know, trying to get into the industry. Like, it's just
So here's my
it
question.
was just a staple, and now it's
Right.
gone, and it's just sad.
Well, here's my question then. Like what form does Summer Games Fest take now? Like, does it? Because Summer Games Fest in the past has been like an all summer thing. Does it? Does it kind of constrict itself into a week long kind of like blowout the way E3 has done in the past? Is that the smart move for Keeley?
I
here?
think honestly, I think he's building around the companies and like when they want to present and what they want to do. That's just my personal opinion on why it's stretched out so long.
I think
but yeah.
PlayStation will absolutely come back for Keeley, Britt.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
PlayStation
I mean,
making
what-
some pretty boneheaded decisions. I don't think they're gonna do that. That's the smartest thing to do. They won't do it.
Maybe. like we can all agree.
Well, didn't they have a trailer for fucking one of the Final Fantasies at?
Yeah, they had. It was 16.
Yeah, they had it 16 at the very end. That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah. So I mean, they're reaching out. They're reaching out that olive branch.
I mean, Nintendo's still gonna do its own thing. I think Nintendo's done with like big conventions, right?
they
Like,
don't
they're
have.
gonna-
They don't. Yeah, they don't have to fucking do shit.
They don't need to. Yeah, like they don't need to. But yeah, I agree with Britt. Like, you know, to kind of like wrap this section up and kind of put a bow on it. Like, I agree with Britt, right? Like, it's like I think eventually, like, it was inevitable that the industry had to evolve beyond E3, but it's still like it's like losing an old friend, right? Like, it's sad. It's like, you know, I've got all these great memories. Like, some of my fondest memories on this podcast has been streaming big conventions like this with you guys. And that's as far as E3 goes. Tara just like came bolting down here. Hey, baby.
All right, here's a question
Um,
for you, John, and everybody else.
Yeah, go ask your question.
Favorite E3 memory?
Final Fantasy VII remake.
Yes.
You mean the Conference of Dreams?
The
that
yeah.
dropped
Yep.
last
Shenmue
Guardian,
3,
Final
last
Fantasy-
Guardian.
no.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy VII remake, and that was also the Final Fantasy 15.
15 reveal and Kingdom Hearts 3.
Kingdom Hearts 3, Final Fantasy
Actually,
VII remake.
more than just watching that, my favorite moment was watching Easy Allies react.
Yes.
Yes,
The Easy Allies
That's
reaction.
what makes it so good.
Yeah.
The Easy Allies reaction will live in my memory for
So
that moment.
like maybe we're just biased because we are Square, you know, influencers and whatever. We love Square Enix. I almost said SquareSoft. Wow. We love Square Enix. But with like Square
1997
fans
is what
ate
it was.
good that fucking PlayStation Direct. We ate good.
That was, and I'll never forget when like you know, a guy came out. I can't remember who it was, but he came out and he introduced World of Final Fantasy, and everybody's like, "Cool, that's great."
That was Adam Boyes. I think,
Adam
that
Boyes, it
running
was
through
Adam
that
Boyes.
section,
He came out, everybody's like, "Great," and he says, and then when he said, "Based on popular demand, we have a very special treat for everyone," I was watching it.
Goosebumps.
I was
Yes.
watching it on an iPad, and I dropped the fucking iPad. I was like, "Oh shit!" Like
I knew what it was immediately.
Yeah.
I knew what it was immediately.
yeah, it was that I think right there is like going to be the definitive E3 moment for most people, right? Like I feel like that is
It's like the end game of
yeah, it's like
announcements.
yes,
I think
exactly.
for most people who like Final Fantasy VII, I imagine if you don't, that doesn't do much.
I'm trying to think because like I didn't watch that one. I remember the Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy announcement was huge because with the way it worked was it was Sony's E3 back when Sony did E3s. That was the same year that they had the God of War reveal. That was huge and whatever. They came up and announced like some Crash Bandicoot Skylanders figures. No one gave a shit. It was
Yeah.
like the most like I think it was
Now-
Sean Layden. He had come out. Then they announced Insane Trilogy. It was the hypest shit in the world. I'm like,
The-
all right,
the- the cringiest E3 moment that I can remember
Mr.
was
Caffeine.
no, the cringiest
Oh
E3
hell
moment
yeah!
I can remember.
Mr.
The
Caffeine.
cringiest one that I can remember was when Uncle Phil came out on stage and unveiled the greatest games lineup in Xbox history, and it was like Halo remastered, Fable, which never came out, a port of Tomb Raider, and Gran Turismo, and a Gears of
mean
War remaster. And it's like,
Forza, not Gran Turismo.
oh, I'm sorry, yeah, Forza, and it's like, dude, like. Dude, like that's back when Xbox was in
Konami
dire
2010.
straits. Konami,
Konami in 2010. Jamie Kennedy doing the
Jamie
Activision.
Kennedy.
Oh, yeah,
Jamie
yeah.
Kennedy's
Neversoft, isn't that like an anti-erection medication?
Look, Jamie Kennedy's Activision one and the Konami one are living legends for how awful they are.
Okay, look.
But Mr. Caffeine was just like painful bad.
Oh my god! Like the Konami one was great because Russell Simmons, Def Jam, was there and he looked visibly uncomfortable to be there at the Konami one when they was like advertising for Def Jam Superstar or whatever. You know how bad that is? Like
But
he
you know
didn't
what?
even look like he was.
CJ, here's the thing though, like you've got that fine tradition being carried on by pioneers like Al Pacino. Like he's
That's my thing. Keely has to keep throwing money at people who look absolutely uncomfortable to be on stage for talking about video games.
I'll never forget Al Pacino. Like
Michael Madsen looked like elder abuse
Yeah.
that he was on the fucking stage.
yeah, like we're already like Jeff's already making the memories. He's already making the memories. Like, who here will ever forget Al Pacino literally being like, I don't know why I'm here. Like, I don't play a lot of games at all. Like, what?
You're like 100, dude. Get off.
What
stage,
is a
bud.
video game?
Oh my god.
Hoo-ah!
There's some.
Like,
I'm
He
trying to
literally was like, but my grandkids play them.
my grandkids play that Mario Brothers. Like,
Oh my
anyway, I'm
gosh.
gonna go.
It's
Do you remember when Christopher Judge is giving a speech and Al Pacino's just in the background for 20 minutes? Like, I wish I could get off the fucking stage.
Because
Like,
I made CJ get on the fucking podcast. I was like, CJ, you have
you're
to.
missing history, CJ.
Chris Judge talking for 20 minutes
like
straight.
CJ, you're
Yeah, but
missing
you know what?
history.
I will broke no hatred of that man's speech because that was a nice speech.
It was a nice
even if
speech,
it
was a
was
nice
long.
speech,
God
but it was so
damn, it
fucking
was
funny.
long.
It was so fucking funny. So Keely needs to bring the thing with Keely's stuff though. My thing is a lot of Keely's stuff is so serious. We're never gonna have anything as catastrophic as like maybe like the Joseph Ferris thing at the 2017 Game Awards was
Fuck
funny.
the Oscars.
Yeah, fuck the. That was great, but I don't think we're ever gonna get anything like that again, right?
I
think
don't know, man.
everything's
Al
too
Pacino was
clean.
close, dude. Al Pacino
But
was
that-
legendary.
That's Keely bringing on someone because he wants to legitimize. This is stupid. He wants to legitimize games in like some stupid way, so he brings him on. But then Pacino kind of goes off the rails. That's different. Pacino's like 1,000. We're never gonna have like Mr. Caffeine, Jamie Kennedy, the 2010. I don't think we're ever gonna get to that.
Oh, see, now
level.
that you've said it, it's absolutely gonna happen.
Oh my
Yeah.
god, I hope.
We're not
I mean, I
because-
He's gonna bring like
because
fucking
nothing's
Ricky
live
Gervais
anymore.
on or something,
Oh,
and
you're right. No, we're gonna have like direct style things, and it's gonna be like all clean cut. We're gonna,
Like,
you know what I'm saying?
Chris Pratt's gonna come out and be like, "Wahoo, guys! It's time to talk about Super Mario Odyssey 2." Like,
You know what? But
like,
if he brought Jack Black out, I feel like Jack Black's the kind of celebrity that brokers both worlds, and I feel like he'd be a great presenter.
He-
because you
he
know
would.
also
Talks
show
about
He
up
would.
as
He would.
has to
Finn.
come dressed up as Bowser.
Finn, he would.
and then
That's why they're gonna
announce
bring out
Brutal Legend 2.
That's why they're gonna
Look,
bring
they're
out
gonna-
Chris Pratt.
But Chris Pratt's gonna come up talk about Mario Odyssey 2 and conversion therapy at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah,
then-
he's
then-
gonna
then-
come
then
out.
they'll-
Let's a go to
then they're-
church, boys. Like,
then they'll get me back in. Then they'll be like, all right,
go to
E3's back, baby. E3's back, baby. Let's fucking go.
yeah, like
You know what?
I don't know.
You know what? None of you guys have seen the movie yet, but if at the next Video Game Awards Jack Black comes out to do a live performance of Peaches as dressed as Bowser, I will lose my shit.
so like I want to let's go to church. Let's kind of moving away from E3.
I don't know if you can top that, bud.
That was pretty good. I'll pat myself on the back for that. We'll end the show. We got about 10 minutes left. We'll end the show talking about the leak of Sony's new handheld device, which really is
Sony's
just
new handy.
Britt, fucking go to
Oh,
jail,
sorry.
Britt.
It's that kind
Like,
of podcast.
go to jail. Just
So-
take your ass to prison. But-
John, so this it's like a rumor, right? It's not like an official.
I mean, it's like Tom Henderson knows his shit. Like
Right.
it's like other people have mentioned this before, and like it's very specific. It's a thing. Like it's a thing, and it sounds like something Sony would do, right? Like, because this is not the Vita 2, which it should be, but it's not. It's just a way to remote play your PS5 games at 1080p and 60 frames a second. It's got a touchscreen. Jeff, what was that?
No, I was gonna say, like you said, it should be a Vita 2. I don't deny the appeal of a Vita 2, but I think from a business sense, like, I don't know which way this will go because I am wrong all the time. But I think to me, like, it's kind of almost, this isn't even really a new platform or console. It's just an accessory.
Right.
Right. And I'm assuming that the cost will be pretty low because all this is basically a portable video screen that's streaming, data from your
That's
console.
kind of what it sounds like.
Right? Like it doesn't need really a lot of memory or CPU usage because you're just streaming a video screen and sending back control inputs. It doesn't need to run any games natively.
But like, so
I-
they've been very careful, Jeff. Like Tom
Yeah.
Henderson was like, this isn't like streaming from the cloud; it's remote play,
Right.
which I don't know what the huge difference is.
Well, so the
like,
difference is, in theory, remote play should be a lot better, right? Because the reason people get such varied experiences with streaming from the cloud is there's so many different factors. When you connect to the cloud services, so if you want to stream an Xbox game from your phone, it connects you to like CDN, which is like a cloud distribution network. But it basically, you have to have a server close to you. There's other servers close to that one. There's the blades that the actual game is running on, which also factor into performance. But something like remote play, it's entirely in your own home as long as you have a good connection to your console.
So
it should be a lot more consistent and
in
better.
theory, it would actually run and
Yeah.
look pretty well.
It should.
It's like doing remote play from your Vita. Like that was a huge.
But
selling
I mean,
point.
Yeah.
if you're playing with 1 bar of Wi-Fi up in your attic, you might still get a bad experience. Like, right? It depends. But I think it's interesting because they don't need a huge lineup to support this new platform because it just plays PS5 games. That removes a big challenge right there. I just don't know how much demand there is for this. To me, like, I fucking love the idea. Sorry, I know there's a Steam Deck, but like, I would buy this to play Final Fantasy 14 from my PS5 in bed,
I would.
hands
too,
down,
yeah.
and not need to fuck around with like PC. It's
Yep.
it's seamless, right? I don't have to fuck around with. I just take my PS5 to bed. I
Yep.
love that idea.
That's actually
So-
yeah. No,
I
it's
think
like
the people who want to like travel with like something, they're kind of shit out of luck, obviously, which is what the appeal of a hand. But I mean, like you said,
Right.
it's cool to have something like if I wanted to play like something in bed, right? My thing is though, I think Sony should have. I part of me still wants Sony to go all in on another handheld.
me too,
make
CJ.
make a portable PS4. Find some way to like
Bring
do
back
that,
the
right?
just call it PlayStation Portable. Like bring back
Dude,
the
call it the
PSP concept.
PSP2.
Yeah.
Call
The
it the
other problem with-
PSP2, bro.
The other problem with the dedicated handheld now that Nintendo kind of solved is it splits your development studios, right? Nintendo always struggled with here's our 3DS teams, here's our 3DS
yeah,
games,
that's a good
here's
point.
our home console games, and there was always people left out in the cold because they
But-
just weren't able to keep up
Yeah,
with the flow.
I mean,
Hear-
it's the
hear me
same
out.
thing that happened to Vita. Is that like
Yeah.
they were going all in on PS4 games? So who was making games for the Vita? The PSP had the same issue. Like
Yeah.
you would have secondary studios making IP for your handheld games. Like Golden Abyss wasn't made by Naughty Dog. Any like major first party IP that was on their handhelds was very rarely made by the studios that popularized it. Like even on the PSP, Naughty
It was
Dog didn't make
dedicated.
Naughty Dog didn't make Daxter. Ready at Dawn did.
Right.
Yeah.
Santa Monica Studios didn't make God of War, Chains
Ready
of
at Dawn
Olympus,
did.
or anything. Ready
Yeah.
at
Ready
Dawn
at Dawn
did.
did.
Like,
And then
Ready
Ready at Dawn did the Order 1886, and now they're at Facebook.
But
yeah.
now they're like a premium VR studio. So
I mean, that's the
my
thing is, like you have to invest in the studios to make the games, and that's what made the Switch so beautiful. For the first time in, I don't know, close to 2 decades, Nintendo's handheld and console divisions were unified into one system.
well, and Sony already
Yeah.
now has to try to support PlayStation VR too with
That's-
some first party support. So like you add a third system into that mix, that's really challenging all of a sudden.
my pitch would be a portable, like it's a portable PS4, right? Digital only, supports your entire library. just release the PS4 version of whatever PS5 games out on it.
Or
That's
CJ,
what.
let me throw something another idea at you.
Yeah.
Keep the concept of playing all your PS5 games at 1080p 60 frames a second anywhere in your house.
Right.
Also say you can play all of the legacy PS1 classics, PS Vita games, and PSP
That's
games.
what I would hope.
If it's digital, it can play on it.
Yes.
Like
Right.
Yes.
something that's simple, but that they would never
But
be able to.
but they won't. Yeah, like that's the
Yeah.
thing. Like, and it
'Cause, like,
sounds
it-
nice,
like, it's,
right?
It's probably, yeah. It's probably just gonna be a glorified like the backbone for your smartphone. That's
Yeah.
Well,
probably
I mean,
what it's gonna
CJ,
be.
apparently it looks like a DualShock Sense, but like it's got a 8-inch screen, a touch screen in it.
Someone is gonna basically mod this to put a Vita inside of it.
Oh yes,
So
absolutely.
you can dual boot, like you could do PS5 remote play, or you could flip over to Vita mode and
And-
access all your
and
classics.
that's what's going to get CJ to purchase it right there.
100%. Well, okay, like that's the thing. If it's like decent price, and I could just at the very least do remote play.
I feel like they
then
can't
I'm
price
all
this
in.
thing any more than
So-
$199, right? Like
I was gonna
Right,
say,
yeah.
so what does the Switch go for in the US right now? Is it $299?
$299.
Like for the basic Switch?
350 for an OLED, $299 for like the standard,
Okay.
$199 for
$199
the
for the
light.
light.
$299 for Switch. So this, yeah, I agree. This thing needs to be $199. Ideally, it should probably be like $150. But given that it's
So Sony's gonna be like
premium-
greedy. Sony's gonna
Yeah.
be greedy. They're gonna Here's
Well,
the thing.
see, here's the thing.
We
They're
didn't
going to
know
put an OLED fucking screen on this thing. You know that. It's going to jack the
The
price
battery
up.
life's gonna be 2 hours at
Yep.
max. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna and plus we don't even know if this is gonna like happen, right? This is all like.
I mean,
you
it
know.
seems like a pretty safe bet. Like
I mean, I'm down. I'm down for like a new Sony handheld. I think I've told you guys like the PSP is like my second favorite handheld console of all time. Like it is like a very special
it's
machine to me.
such a versatile machine.
Like beautiful. Like right, that was like the first like handheld that like
Yeah.
So it would be cooler for Sony to return to that space somehow, especially if it's just like I could play Jedi Fallen Order in bed, I guess, without right because the Switch. I love it, but its biggest problem is the parity between it and like all its competition, right? You know, things run significantly worse in handheld mode, and all that stuff. So I would love like a more powerful handheld.
Did we lose Jeff?
He just
Yeah,
has
he
to
had to
get a
go.
run.
Oh, he had to run. Okay. Well, we're at 10:30 anyway.
Yeah, we're out
so
of time.
we should probably wrap up here anyway. Great show tonight, guys. I loved hanging with everyone, especially like it's just been kind of a weird week for everyone, but a lot of good things have happened this week. The Pixel remasters are finally coming out. I'm so happy. Like, guys, I cannot fucking tell you just how happy I am that these are finally very soon coming to Switch, and I am very much looking forward to streaming a few of those for our audience. We have got some pretty cool stuff coming up. Finn, did you? Well, actually, you know what? We'll hold our powder on that about what's coming up
Yeah.
in June because I want to talk to the rest of the podcast first. But at any rate, guys, little hint for you guys there. Stay tuned. We will be right back here next week on twitch.tv/official SDGC. Until then, remember everyone that kindness costs nothing. We will see you next week. Take care of each other.